Hello, Ross Jordan with Inquiring International again. We are working through level 1 of CMMC compliance. This is the self-reporting standards. We are in section 8 of the chapter 3 that discusses media protection. We've talked about media maintenance in prior chapters. This one's a little bit different. So in plain English, right, what is this? This means that you need to look at a life cycle of how your data is managed. When we talk about protecting it, we're talking about from its inception to its use all the way to its destruction. So you have to think ahead about what this means for not just physical data, but also paper data, anything that may have a confidential or CUI implication in it. What's this mean for your company? It means you're writing a policy on this. It means that you have to understand from the beginning to the end of what happens to data and materials that are secure in your environment while they're in your possession, as well as thinking to the next level. We'll get into that in just a second. And then the questions for your IT, pretty simple here. This is not a long chapter or a long video, but we'll get to that here in just a moment. So think about this as the physical control and security of any stored information. Again, thinking paper, thinking digital assets, thinking anything that your employees could touch. Thinking about limiting access to it. Is it in a protected area? Is there a server closet? Does it have an RFID that only certain people have access to that information or access to that data? Think also too, physical data. A lot of times there's drawings that are maybe older, they're a little bit older. You'll still need to manage protection on those, whether that's through a locked security cabinet or other means as well. Think about distribution. Now, when it's moving around your organization, data has to be marked as confidential or do not disseminate or anything like that. It can be done in the subline. It can be done as a backdrop or a watermark, but it's got to be marked in one form or fashion, as well as its transfer media has to have that marking as well. So if you put something onto a flash drive, that has to be marked confidential flash drive. So everybody knows that's not supposed to go somewhere else besides internal use only or whatever form of fashion that is. You have to make sure that you are adding people and removing people from access to this data in a timely manner. So again, maybe you have a contractor who needs to see this information. In earlier subsections, we've talked about the credentialization of that individual. How do they gain access? Who approves it? What access are they given? Think about that again in the reverse. How do you get them out of that data? How do you make sure they don't have access to it anymore? And how do you ensure that they can't come back and see it? This also, to think about this, when you send a document, can they print it? Can they forward it? Can they do things with it? If you're using Microsoft, which you should be, 365 in any form or format, you can now with the cloud be able to see edits and things like that. That's media protection as well, making sure you know who made changes to the document or the data that's in there. Also, to prohibit any use of flash drives. Turn off every USB drive on your devices. This will ensure people can't just take it. You don't have to worry about floppies and stuff like that so much anymore, but the flash drive is important. Consider this as well. SIM cards on telephones. What can they save on their personal devices and things like that? So those policies need to be created. So now let's talk about what questions you ask your IT department. Again, how are we marking this information? Where is this data kept? Where it's secured? Who has access to it? Remember, think about the audit logs. There has to be active audit logs that you have to be able to deliver on demand. Think about technical and non-technical controls. Again, you're thinking about data as a whole, the entire organism, paper and physical or digital, any way that the people have access to this information. Make sure that you've asked them about turning off the flash drives. Make sure that you have legal hold policies in place. This is important because it does protect your company so that, if you're ever brought into a case, hey, 7 years ago, we sent a series of emails to you and we want to see those emails. Sorry, my document of destruction shows every 5 years that we do this. You need to make sure that that's in place and that's standard. Most importantly, that you actually execute on it. Do not have certain files that, you keep longer than that requirement, whatever you've written and whatever you've documented. Make sure that the transportation of any critical user information is also documented as how it's protected, confidential for internal use only, so on and so forth. Make sure that your IT team has the security markings in place, and then what defines those. Who defines that that's confidential or that's public? That can be a discussion among executives. Probably your finance department needs to be involved with that as well, but make sure that the IT team knows exactly where documents are and what their markings are and how to keep those safe. Again, think about how does your IT team approve and remove people from accessing these files. So those are some questions for your IT team. Wish you the very best of luck on this. This is one of the easier ones. You should have already done this by this time, but if you haven't, now's a good time to do it.